Hi, it's T. Carlson here, and Arrow Video is at it again on both sides of the pond, continuing to release some excellent 4K discs of classic films. I just picked up an import release of one of the movies they've put out, a well-revered cinematic classic that won a ton of Academy Awards back in its day. The movie we're looking at today, directed by Bernardo Bertolucci, is The Last Emperor. I'm going to unbox this release and share my opinions. Nice cover art there with our young emperor and the Forbidden City scenery. Here's our back cover. This does have reversible art. No slip cover, disappointingly, but I will reverse this art here. And here we have the reversed art. That looks very nice as well. Sadly, again, this is just the standard release. It's not the deluxe box set release that Arrow tends to do when movies first come out. So we just get a 4K disc, no Blu-ray disc, no booklet, no art cards or anything. I imagine you get all that in the deluxe set. And if I ever get that, I'll certainly unbox that on this channel as well. I'll read the description of the film as follows from the package. Director of The Conformist, Last Tango in Paris, and The Dreamers, Bernardo Bertolucci was one of the greats of Italian cinema. In 1987, his acclaimed epic The Last Emperor, made with British producer Jeremy Thomas, swept the 60th Academy Awards, winning 9 Oscars, including Best Picture and Best Director. Following the life of Puyi, the last of the emperors of China, from his birth in 1906 to his childhood in the fortress-like Forbidden City and later his misguided collaboration with the Japanese in World War II, The Last Emperor tells the history of China through eyes of the man brought up to believe he was the country's divine ruler. Filmed on location in China, Bertolucci and Thomas were the first Western filmmakers to be allowed access to previously forbidden locations. Together with a cast including John Lone, Joan Chin, and Peter O'Toole, and director of photography Vittorio Storaro's lushly evocative cinematography, they created a classic film of sweeping scope and delicate intimacy that stunned critics and audiences alike. The Last Emperor arrives on UHD in a 4K restoration that will take your breath away. I had seen The Last Emperor prior to picking up this release, but it had been several years, but it was one that was certainly a pleasure to revisit. Bernardo Bertolucci is a great filmmaker that I really don't think gets talked about enough. Prior to this movie, he was probably best known for directing Last Tango in Paris, which starred Marlon Brando, but this was the movie that gave him his greatest mainstream success, and of course it won a ton of Academy Awards, including Best Picture. It was the first Western world production allowed access to a lot of those previously forbidden Chinese locations, and the authenticity really lends itself to this film. It's a beautiful story, and the cinematography, set design, and the scenery that we see throughout this movie and all the different eras it represents, it's absolutely gorgeous. The movie, of course, revolves around Puyi, who as a young boy is taken to the Forbidden City and brought up to be the Emperor of China. Of course, he's not allowed to leave the Forbidden City, and he finds himself even more curious about what's going on outside of the walls. When China reforms and he no longer has the right to rule the country, of course, things take a pretty nasty turn, and he ends up finding himself collaborating with the Japanese in the days prior to World War II, which results in him being thrown in a prison camp in his later years. The movie tends to jump back and forth between the two eras, Puyi's upbringing, and then also the time where he, as an adult, is stuck in a Chinese prison for war criminals. And the juxtaposition between these two scenes is one of my favorite parts of the film. You have these bright, bold, beautiful colors in the early scenes of Puyi's life in the Forbidden City, but then you have these just drab, gray monotones in the then modern scenes that are set in the 50s and 60s when Puyi finds himself a prisoner of war. It's a great movie that just covers a lot of points. At 160 minutes, it's certainly a little on the long side, but it does find ways to keep your attention, and the performances are absolutely fantastic. My favorite performance in this film, of course, comes from legendary British actor Peter O'Toole, probably best known for playing the title role in Lawrence of Arabia, playing the tutor and teacher to Puyi, who introduces him to concepts of the outside world and Western civilization, which makes him even more curious about what lies beyond the walls of the Forbidden City. It is a great film, well acted, beautifully produced, beautifully shot, and I'm so glad to see that Arrow Video saw fit to give this one a 4K release. I am pleased to say that the results look very good. It's not something that I think will be home theater demo material, but it does reflect the original cinematography, and there's no unwanted enhancements, sharpening, noise reduction, or anything of the like. It's a great looking natural transfer that reflects what this movie should look like, and I think longtime fans of the movie will be happy with what they see. We do get a number of supplements on here, including some home movies from Bertolucci that was shot while he was out scouting locations for the film, a featurette on the history of his career, interviews with cast and crew, and a few other little pieces as well. It's not an overwhelming number of supplements, but if you are a fan of the movie, you certainly will like what you see here. Although you might want to hold on to your old Criterion Collection Blu-ray for some of the features that are on there as well. So overall, this is a nice import disc from Arrow Video. Again, 4K releases, 99.9% of them are region-free, so you can import this one without worry. It is a great-looking disc, and I can highly recommend this to any fan of the film or of cinema in general. Are you a fan of The Last Emperor? Do you think this movie deserved all those Oscars it won? Do you think it's Bernardo Bertolucci's greatest film? Comment down below and let me know what you think. Also, remember to subscribe to this channel for more content, 'cause I'm always posting new videos. And make sure you give this one a like if you found it helpful. I'm Taylor T. Carlson. I'll see you next time.